Hey, this video covers topics from analog and psychological horror pieces that some viewers may find disturbing. There will be no jump scares though, I promise. Content warnings will be in the description. Enjoy! Recently, I booked and completed my shift for the Exterior Helpline hosted by Candlehouse Collective for a rerun of their show, Claws, a phone experience where I could interact one-on-one with an actor fulfilling the role of a scared teenager named Danny. My job as an Exterior Helpline representative was to simply help Danny with his problems in his personal life, as well as deal with the monster he somehow trapped in his closet. And I had a great time. The actor for my session was Julian Sky and he did amazing. I got scared. That was his job after all. I heavily implore any horror enthusiast to at least give it a try, as long as Candlehouse Collective reruns this experience. However, it seems that nowadays, most horror media doesn't seem to make me feel the same way that Claws did. Sure, some things may have come close to replicating it, but whether it be films, games, or online media, most creators tend to miss the main scare factors associated with good horror, inadvertently making the whole genre oversaturated with bland, copy-pasta content. The worst part about this? Horror enthusiasts can't seem to get enough of it. When most people think about good forms of horror, they usually want psychological horror. Ever been in a horror experience that unsettles you so much that you lie awake at night? That would be the result of a psychological horror piece, giving you the feeling that lingers with you even after the actual showing's over. This is the horror that most creators strive for, especially in online spaces. In October of 2017, Chris Straub created Local 58, the very first form of analog horror onto the internet, catalyzing the growth of a new subgenre of psychological horror that utilized the feelings of an old 90s broadcast to convey uncanniness to the viewer, and it exploded in popularity, reaching its peak in October of 2020. However, it was the fact that Local 58 was the first of its kind that made it so scary. Nothing like it had ever been seen before, which made the public gush over its uniqueness. But as time went on and more creators attempted to replicate its initial spark, the spectacle of what had made the piece work so well to begin with began to dwindle. The culmination of these knockoff pieces resulted in by far the worst piece of online horror to date, UrbanSPOOK. Now, UrbanSPOOK was just like most other forms of analog media at the time. Vintage 90s effects, mysterious murderer, and a story told through various assortments of tapes. But the thing that separated UrbanSPOOK from all the other forms of horror was its over-reliance on shock value. Most, if not all, of UrbanSPOOK's videos typically deliver its so-called plot through long lines of text, describing the events of some gruesome murder and sometimes having an abstract painting that a serial killer would draw. And it's just not scary. Take a look at these lines from UrbanSPOOK's Witness video. These lines of text were subsequently followed by a painting of a red blob resembling a human face missing an eye. It's lazy and uninspired. There's nothing to be scared of. Really analyze the text that's being put there. What is there to be scared of? The painting? The fact that she was killed with a hammer? Perhaps even the pause before the oh so great reveal. I get that it's there to show the sadism of the murderer. I get it. But when every single second of content is filled with excessive graphic descriptions, it just gets repetitive. Same goes for jump scares. Personally, I despise jump scares, which is why I excluded them from this video. I find them to be cheap since they're so simple to make and formulaic. Sort of like a comedian tickling you to make you laugh. Sure, you laughed, but there's no skill or technique to it. And while it technically counts as a form of horror, it's not something that has any value or merit to it. Once the jump scare is over, it won't be remembered. However, with a good psychological horror piece, it'll linger with you for a while. It's why analog horror has such a cult-like following online. Every person in these communities actively engaged with the medium and took it to heart. There's never been a community for, let's say, Blumhouse's Unfriended. The fact that there's no subreddit proves it. To accurately depict the difference between these two, I've set up a makeshift demo. Then take something like Baddington's Five Nights at Freddy's analog horror series, which has an emphasis on using jump scares to scare the viewer. Most likely, the blank screen got you even more than the actual jump scare would, even if there was nothing objectively scary about it. There's nothing wrong with using jump scares as long as they're done well. But as seen with most of the analog media present on YouTube nowadays, Most of these aspiring creators are missing the flair of the first pieces of analog horror that I want to see more of. Despite its flaws, I still love analog horror. It pains me to see the gradual deterioration that this community has taken over the past 4 years. Once a thriving community full of innovation and growth turned into a trope-filled, copy-pasted mess. I'm not saying that creators currently making analog horror should be ashamed of what they've made either. Every single one of these projects, even UrbanSPOOK, had their heart and soul put into them. And you can see it with every single piece that's put out there. But there needs to be some change that happens between now and the emergence of another project that brings online horror back into the spotlight. I want people to come into this community and leave with the same feeling of mystery and inspiration that pieces like Skinamarink and Gemini Home Entertainment made me feel all those years ago. Regardless of this, I know that somewhere out there's an inspiring mind with an untapped source of ideas and passion that can bring back the dormant fire in this community if they decide to act upon it. So wake up, get out there, start creating, and be the change that this community needs. Thanks for the run. Have a good one. Deuces. Hey, Wakame here. Finally done editing this video. Finally. I know it's been a while, but I'd like to thank you for pushing it through the end. Sources should be on the left hand side if I decide to make it there. If not, you can find them, I think. Regardless, if you want some good analog horror pieces, I'll put them in the description. Or on screen. I don't know. Could be on screen. Yeah. Catch you in the next one. Deuces.